I'm doing very well. I'm coming at you on a Saturday night. This is how I'm spending my Saturday night with you.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Well, I'm spending my Saturday just morning. Yeah. But it's good. I'm awake.
So you're over in London at the moment, or whereabouts are you in England?
Actually, Brighton. So I'm about an hour south from
Yeah.
London. I was in
Oh,
London, but the rest of us are kind of Brighton based.
yeah. I've got a friend, Polly, who's over at Brighton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, work colleague. So that's cool. There's a link.
Yeah. It's a good place.
uh, the industry you've been in for quite some time. We'll talk about Crimson Veil in a second, but I want to know, firstly, the longevity. How have you lasted? Like, have you had any hurdles along the way, or has it all been smooth sailing? You've really got your head above water for so long now. It's great.
Thanks. Yeah, we definitely have been around a while. I know Crimson Veil is a new project, but yeah, I've been in the music industry for let's say about 20 years, maybe a bit more, just playing in
Yep.
bands. Like I started off playing in punk bands and playing bass
Yep.
guitar was my first kind of thing, and then formed Bird Eats Baby out of like the punk scene, but with more like cabaret kind of stuff. And then
Yeah.
just been playing in loads of projects and just totally obsessed with music. I think, I'd still be doing it even if I wasn't in Crimson Veil. I just can't stop writing music and performing music is all I want to do. So I think the
That's
longevity
great.
just comes from the fact that I've just been quite persistent, and I've had a really good group of people around me also wanting to continue. Like Garry and I started the band in 2006. I think we played our first show.
Okay.
So we've been making music together as a really long time, and I think every time one of us wanted to give up, the other one went, "Nah, let's keep going," and it just kept going like that.
Well, punk's never died, right? It's still around.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's still alive and well. I mean, I have a lot of friends still in the punk scene, and I love the Brighton punk scene. It's really accepting. It's really great, and it's a great place for alternative people and queer people, and just it's a very,
Yeah.
very accepting kind of genre, and that's what I love about punk. Even though I've sort of just stepped away from the music, I got a bit bored of the three chord, thing. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
as you can probably tell.
What about this new incarnation of your latest project, Crimson Veil? I'm sure you've been telling this story many times, but just in a nutshell, like how did it come about? How did you choose band members and get the album Hex happening? Because it's a pretty awesome album, I've got to say.
Thank you. So I think things started to change for us when Anna joined the band in 2019,
Uh,
which was just before the pandemic. So it is the same four members. It's the same members of Bread Eats Baby with this project. So nobody changed. We didn't pick any members for it. It's the same project. But when Anna joined
yeah,
the band, it was really for me an opportunity to start writing music that was a lot more progressive and a lot more weird. And finally, sorry, that's just my stepkid leaving. um, the yeah, so basically it was an opportunity for us to make the music that I guess I've always really wanted to. I've always been pushing for like bigger and bolder and kind of more interesting music. And then finally we had this drummer in the band who was like, I didn't realize, but a prog drummer. So she's do anything and not just do that, but really enjoy it. Whereas I feel like with previous drummers, the tastes, we didn't share the same tastes. So I'd be making these drummers do these quite complicated parts that they just weren't really that into. So this was now an
that
opportunity to
doesn't
work.
help, does it? If they're not as dedicated or they don't want to be there, that doesn't help the sound.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So it was difficult for a while. We had a lot of band members change and a
Mm,
lot of breakups and some bits where it got, every band's been through that, but we just had like working with the wrong people for a really long time. And so when
mm.
Anna joined the band, it was like this breath of fresh air. And so she joined, we did this tour, and then the pandemic hit, and it was like, oh,
Of course
um,
it did.
yeah. But again, like talking about just turning things into an opportunity, we just wrote loads, and we wrote this really weird music, and because we had so much time to like muck
Mm,
about with stuff, I took Hex as a concept to Anna in one of the breaks between the lockdowns, and went up to hers in London. I just said, I've got this really weird idea. I want to make a song with those different time signatures. I want 9 different sections. I want it to be like this. I want it to be like ridiculous, and we're going to take our time with it. And she was like, yes, hold my beer, like this is my jam. So really, like, she just took it and ran with it. And for the first time I was like, wow, this is actually somebody wanting to make as weird music as me, so
yeah.
that's kind of how it started. And then obviously the name change happened because we signed to Reigning Phoenix, and our management and the label and us, we all just felt it was time for like a new evolution of the band. And if we took all of the old songs with Birdie's Baby with us, we wouldn't really be a metal band. We'd have a metal album, but with all of this previous stuff that was more like orchestral rock or punk cabaret, just some really, really weird mixes of stuff. And they felt that they'd be able to promote the band better if we made a clean break into the metal scene on this metal label. And then that was it. So for me, it was great because like that band is great, but it was been going for so long and it felt really heavy to carry. And it also kind of felt like my project a bit more because I'd sort of formed it and written all the songs, and this project really felt like a group thing. So it was time to start again, everybody equal in the band, everybody creating, and that's where Crimson Veil kind of came from.
I'm glad you sort of said it. It's a concept album. Is that how you would describe it? Because the song Task is what, 12 minutes long or something, and it's very Pink Floyd. It just goes on and on, but there's so many layers, and every
you can
it's great.
Yeah, thanks. You can blame Garry for that one, but you can also we got to the end of writing this, and I was like, I want there to be 9 songs on the album. You know, and it's going to be this concept album. We're going to release one single at a time over time, back when we were Birdie's Baby. And then when we signed to the album, one of the things in the contract was that the length of the album had to be a certain length. And I was like, oh God, we're basically like a couple of songs short. And Garry was like, don't worry, let's just write a really long song to make up all of the minutes that we're missing. So it kind of set out like that. And then he's a huge Pink Floyd fan. They're like his you know, first love of music came from there. So you can tell that's where it came from.
Me of.
Yeah, and I really like them as well. They're not a massive influence on me, but I love the sort of orchestral and piano sections. So the softer sides of Task sort of came from me and Hana, and then this really heavy riff-based stuff. You know, that was all Garry. But we're definitely planning on bringing longer songs into the next record as well, because it was a really fun thing, and people are actually really enjoying that song. Whereas for us, it felt like, oh my God, will it ever end?
No, it's fine with me because it was a compliment. I wasn't knocking it. So thanks, Garry, if you're watching this. Will you, you're saying Hex then is volume 1 of something? Will it continue same kind of style and then move into another storyline, so to speak?
I think we're really liking having one word for each song, and that's going to be something that we'll continue onto the next record.
It works.
Yeah, and then this whole theme of like numbers and demonology and spirituality and occult kind of messages hidden within the songs is definitely something that will continue. I feel like with this band, you know, you might listen to a song and go, what the hell was that about? But then on a second listen, you might get another layer, and on a third listen, you might get something else. And they're just sort of these little puzzles that can be, you know, looked at and unpicked. And my favorite music is bands that are really quite you know, mysterious, and you don't really know what's going on until you sort of listen and listen and listen and then unpack stuff and learn about it. And the music just keeps growing instead of it being like, oh, I get everything in that song first time round. So we'll definitely be continuing those themes, but I think the next record we are going to be able to take our time a little bit more, and the songs will be longer, more in depth, and obviously we're all multi-instrumentalists, so I'd really like for this next album to show more of our instruments that we can all play. There'll be more pianos, different strings, a lot more harp. You know, Garry's even got like brass that he can bring into it, and Anna has like a wealth of percussion. So I think, you know, we're just going to get more ridiculous basically.
Yeah, no, keep it going. And will you maybe, I mean, rock operas, musicals, stage shows, stuff like that are really big, and they've come back in a big way over the last few years. Would you consider maybe doing a short film to some of your music? I mean, obviously the music video is almost like a short film anyway that you've done so far for Hex, but in general, would you think about putting a story to or some acting to your songs as a background?
Certainly, if the right opportunity came up, that would be great. Yeah, I mean, at the moment we're just making music and videos because that's what, you know, we have the budget and the sort of means to do. But if an opportunity came up, then absolutely. I think a lot of our music's quite cinematic and could be put to film. So certainly, and if we're going to write longer songs on the next record, then maybe the music videos themselves will become epic films instead of just, you know, the band playing. But yeah, anything could happen. You know, I'd love to write a musical. That'd be great.
If you have any actor friends or performer friends that can make a cameo, you know, you only need that one celebrity to be part of your video, and more people will see it.
Yeah, great. Let's do it. Who do you know? Put me in touch.
Okay, we'll keep in contact. I'm all for getting more people to hear your music. I think
Thanks.
Crimson Veil is a real breath of fresh air. But how would you describe it? It's sort of a combo of classical, metal, punk, even pop at some points. You know, like I don't know. Am I wrong? Like it's a combination of quite a lot of different. You can't nail what sort of music it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it is a very unusual combination. I mean, we're all from very different musical
Mm,
influences. So Anna's really into prog. And she, would lean towards a little bit of pop and, like that as well. Whereas Hannah's really into the classical stuff and she loves pop. Garry and
yeah.
me are the metal heads, but I love a lot of like klezmer music and a lot of like I grew up singing in church choirs, so I love choir music and kind of really old music like that. And and Gary's a jazz guitarist as well. Like that was his first kind of genre. So when you put all those
Mm.
musicians together and we're all so
Anything
intentional
can
when we
happen.
write, anything can happen. And that's just what happened. But I think we all cross over with like the dark alternative kind of metal vibes. So, we all love Tool, we all love Gojira, we all love Opeth. And when you get those things in common, that's where we all cross
Mm,
over, and then we bring our influences, but tying them all together with this really dark kind of sound means that we're not just doing
mm,
too much and going everywhere. Whereas like felt like with Bird Eats Baby, it was just too
mhm.
much to me. Like everyone was like, this is great, but like calm down. So with
Okay.
this, we tried to make something that's also listenable. Do you know what I mean? Even
Mm,
if it is slightly confusing, it's there are moments where you can just like bang your head and enjoy
mm.
the groove. We're trying to make it a bit more groovy, so it's not just insanity.
No, of course not. And it all flowed. I mean, I really like the concept of the hex beginning to end. It just seems like it flows in a whole different manner of like a roller coaster, basically. Slow
Mhm.
parts and fast parts. It all
Yeah,
combines really well.
thank
What
you.
about the album cover? And is that something that you all collectively decided on, or did you have a few options?
Yeah, when it came to the album cover, we we took a bunch of photos after the Hex video shoot. We were there for like a whole weekend. It was a really, really long shoot, and that was just
Yeah.
like one part of it. The amount of days that we spent making that is insane. But on one of them, I had all the band together, and I said, "Guys, I've just got this idea. I just kind of want us to all like get naked and like just cover ourselves, but make it
Yeah.
look kind of like quite alluring and like quite seductive, but at the same time kind of terrifying, and you're not really sure what you're looking at."
Yeah.
And so we took a few photos in different positions where sort of bodies were wrapped around each other, and it looked really creepy. And then Scott, our videographer, was like, "Okay, how about you just stand at the front, but everybody's arms?" So it's got the whole band in the picture. It's everybody's arms. And when it came out, it was just perfect because it just looks like this many-armed kind of creature or goddess or something, and that's what I feel represents the music. It's got many layers to it. Like I might be at the front with the vocals, but it's got all
Yeah.
these layers, and they're all kind of working as this kind of terrifying machine. So yeah, there was just no question that was going to be the album cover. And I remember our management said, "Oh, send us a few options," and we just sent that over. And they said, "Send us a few more options," and we just kept sending that picture over without saying anything. And eventually, they didn't have a choice. So that's what it is. But I'm really proud of it. I love that image. I think it's perfect for the music.
Oh,
And then we just put hex gate around it to give it this lovely kind of circular frame. And
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
love it.
Well, I was going to say it's nothing wrong with getting naked, by the way. I think that's great and very optional. But
Yeah.
also, I think it's wonderful that you've decided on that. That particular one is really good because you could frame it. I mean, it's just a picture in itself. You could frame it in an art gallery.
Mm. Yeah, we've always tried to make sure that our covers are very like telling of what the album's about, the mood of the album. I think it's so important. Our visual aspect, our music videos have always been really, really important to our music. So the album cover just had
Yeah.
to be something really iconic, especially as our first album cover with this band. But it looks great on the vinyl, when the vinyl finally comes out. It's going to be a beautiful image to be able to, put it up on your wall if you want or whatever. But it's just, yeah, it's a boss image. You can't go small with these things when it comes to metal. It's got to be really bombastic or nothing.
Yeah, yeah. No, I believe you're right there. You got to go all in, no matter what.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do you look after your voice? Do you have any routines? you're drinking tea there. Maybe it's tea, but how do you look after your voice? Is there any particular secret, or just it's always been naturally okay?
I'm really lucky with my voice. It seems to be able to sustain quite a lot. I've done a lot of touring and I've only lost my voice once on tour. And that was because of like the air conditions in America. They always have aircon on and it just it's a nightmare for my voice. But anyway, yeah, so I'm really lucky. I've got really strong vocal cords. I do a warm up properly, but I don't drink alcohol anymore. That makes a huge difference to everything.
That's so common with the singers, whether it be metal band singers that I interview or just in general. I mean, there's a lot of singers now that are just have given it up and noticed an extreme difference. And I get it, but yeah, it's common. I mean, it's a lot more common than I thought. It doesn't go with the scene, right? Because you generally
no, I mean, I think it's okay if you're playing an instrument and you don't have to sing every night. It's very different. I mean, I'm sober anyway. Like I've been sober, I've been alcohol free for a long time now, and that was just something I had to do anyway for my mental health as well as my physical health. But it's made such a huge difference to my confidence on stage and to my physical abilities with my voice. Like I find I can sing higher, I can go for longer. But really, it's just like you've just got to be really on it. It's like being an athlete. You can't drink and tour. Like I can't do it anyway. There's no way I could with a hangover and then go on stage that night and expect to do these ridiculously vocal acrobatic parts. I've got to be so on it, and it's hard. Even if you're completely sober and in a really good physical shape, it's still like it's absolutely exhausting. There's nothing like it, you know. So you've got to be really fit and healthy, and alcohol just doesn't play any role in that at all. So if I want to be the top of my game, then that was an easy decision. I also eat really well. I drink loads of water, you know. I eat plant diet and you know, always hydrated, and yeah, I just take really good care of my physical health, and then my voice seems to be able to sustain a lot if I can do that. But yeah, it is something that you have to do as a singer. You know, your instrument is inside your body. You can't just pick it up and be like, okay, cool, let's go. It's like, no, how am I feeling today? What can I do? And you have to adjust depending on where your voice can go to that day. So it's kind of a full-time commitment.
How do you decide on what you're going to wear? Have you always had that same style, that same dress sense, or has it evolved over the years as you've gotten a bit older?
Yeah, so Hannah's really great with the design of what we're going to wear. She has loads of ideas for aesthetics. She's really aesthetic. Like she does her own crafting and makes all like these beautiful products and stuff. It's amazing. So yeah, she kind of was like, I think we should dress like goddesses. You know, the music's really occult and it's quite ancient sounding. And also it's just a really like powerful kind of sound. So we were like, let's dress like goddesses. But I think it's really normal in metal for everybody to wear black, and everybody to kind of wear like, you know, chains or studs or all kinds of stuff that's quite aggressive looking or whatever, which is great. Like I love that. Like, don't get me wrong, but we really wanted to stand out and do something different. So we had this idea that Garry and Hana would wear black, and then Anna and I would wear really striking white, you know, and that's kind of how it made it stand out. And then these like horned headdresses, and the look just seemed to go so well with the music that, you know, when we walked onto stage, people were really like, wow. And when you see the photographs and it's just like this like blinding kind of white color, it's so unusual in metal to see that we really felt it was a cool way for us to stand out. And now I love it. Like, but yeah, that dress is getting a bit tatty. I'm going to need to upgrade at some point.
I'm sure you'll have another one on hand at some point.
I hope so, yeah.
Have you ever sung out over the audience? Have you ever done, you know, that, you know, fly over the audience on a harness or on a chair or anything? You ever done that?
No, I've never done that. I mean, that sounds pretty cool. But no, I've not done that yet. I mean, we've only done one tour as Crimson Veil. So at the moment we're still, you know, probably supporting other bands. So, you know, when you've got like a 10-minute sound check right before you go on, you know, and you're on first and you've got a really short time, you have to just do things that are going to be able to get you on stage quickly and not take too much, you know, time. So yeah, we've definitely got some great ideas to develop the live set, and maybe to do some stuff like that would be pretty cool, but not yet. But I'm sure there's room for, you know, some some levitation, that would be
Theatrics,
brilliant.
yeah, some levitation theatrics. And
Yeah, yeah.
if you're only supporting at this point, how do you pick the songs? I mean, you can't play the whole album, I'm assuming. You can't just do
No, no, we
no.
can't just play Task and then leave.
Well, I wouldn't mind that. That'd be all right.
Yeah. So we picked sort of what we feel like with the singles for our short set, and then we did a long set at the Czech Republic Festival Metal Fest, which was brilliant. So we got to play a few new ones, and we're doing a launch party where we're headlining in our hometown of Brighton on the 5th of November. So we'll be playing the entire album, probably except Task, because for the next era we're going to need to have a piano and a harp, and it's really difficult to fit that all on stage unless you're doing quite a big stage. So until we have our headline tour, we'll probably just stick to those songs where we don't have too many instrument changes. But definitely,
Sure.
I want to have my piano back on stage, and Hannah's electric harp, and just basically cover the stage in instruments, and that sounds fun.
Yeah, I think the more instruments, the better. I mean, just have them there, and you never know what might happen. You could end up playing just jamming with, it
Yeah,
sounds like a
I
lot of
can't
fun.
imagine us ever jamming, but yeah, that would be a
True.
weird jam.
I'm just thinking outside
Yeah,
the box.
yeah, totally. But yeah, I agree. The more instruments, why not? If you've got them, why not use them? I love different textures, and it's quite exciting when you go and see a band and then like everything's laid out on stage and you're like, what's that? Oh, they've got that. I mean, I saw Heilung, which was the most incredible live show I think I've ever been to, probably hands down. And
Really?
they had so many things on stage, like instruments made out of bones and like weird kind of
Oh, wow.
bended drums, and then the light show. I mean, it was just, the whole stage looked like a forest pagan ritual. It was just so inspiring. So yeah, we'd like to get a bit closer to that for our next tour if we can.
Cool. Will we see a tour down under at any point? Can we look forward to it, or it's not quite on the cards just yet?
I certainly hope so. I mean, we just have to wait to see what comes up. If the right band comes up that we can tour with in Australia, then
Yeah.
100%. I've never played a show in Australia. I played shows in New Zealand, but I've never gotten to it. I've never even been. So I would
Okay.
absolutely love to do that. I know the music scene is brilliant out there. So
Yeah.
done a lot of Australian interviews. So I'm very excited to get out there as soon as we can. But I think 2025 will be the year that we establish ourselves, in the metal scene. We'll do quite a few tours, and then hopefully the year after that we can look to go further afield.
Well, Mish, you're welcome down under anytime. With your talent, come on down quick.
Brilliant. Okay, yeah, I'll see you there.
Any female influences that you've just always looked upon, or any influences in general? Is there someone that stands out that you would like to maybe collaborate with or have influenced your career at all?
I think, yeah, that's a really good question. My favorite bands are probably, especially for this particular project, I would have to say Opeth. Like, I think his vocal style is really, really incredible.
Yeah.
And just the construct of the songs, when I listen to it, I just find it so amazing how they're able to write a song like that, that's so long, but just
Yeah.
keeps you focused. So like, yeah, I mean, like if we ever got to do something with Opeth, that'd be amazing. We're all like huge Opeth fans in the band. But personally as well, I really love Lamb of God. Like, he's probably my favorite vocalist out there. He's got just such a really, really incredible voice. And just every song's just a banger, it's just fantastic. I've seen them live so many times, so they're brilliant. Female artists.
Yeah.
I mean, I really love PJ Harvey. I know she's not metal, but
Oh,
just her
she's so good
ability
though.
to, yeah, she's just her ability to just go in and like just keep a crowd in the palm of her hand. She's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I would have to say those three people for now, but sorry, I didn't really prepare.
No, I'm all about
Oh,
being.
actually, we have one that, sorry, just really quickly. So,
Yeah.
do you like the French metal band Igor? Do you know them?
I'm not sure I know Eagle. No.
Okay, so they're absolutely brilliant. They're basically like complete genre benders. Like, they go from opera to like drum and bass to heavy metal to like 8-bit computer game core, but they do it seamlessly. It's absolutely amazing. The singer from that is incredible. She's like an opera singer, but also they all have like death growls and all kinds of
Okay.
stuff. So I would definitely give them a shout out if we ever got to tour with Igor. That would make my life. But they're one of my favorite bands when it comes to writing and vocals.
I'll keep that in mind, and I'll put them on my list because that sounds wild.
Yeah,
So,
they're so good.
yeah.
Listen to Spirituality and Distortion, and it's Igor with 3 R's, so it's Igor.
All right. No, thanks heaps, Mish. I'll get onto that after we're finished a little bit later.
Yeah.
You got me intrigued. To wrap it up, a couple more quick questions. When it comes to female equality in the industry, have you noticed changes? Are you happy with how it's progressing, or is it still at square one? Are you still not getting the opportunities just because you're female?
I definitely think it's changed. I've noticed a lot of really positive things happen. I've just noticed more females in the industry, which is
Oh, you're
fantastic.
not wrong. I'm loving it. I'm really getting to know a lot of them. And sorry to cut you off, but you're right. It's such great in my eyes as a spectator and getting to hear these bands. They're coming through the cracks, and I think there's so much to look forward to. The future is
Yeah.
female. Can I say that?
I really hope you're right, because it's not been going great, guys. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, there was like no females in metal as far as I knew of anyway, or especially, I grew up like when like rock sound was like where I was getting my music from, and it was the really early days of the internet and everything. And I remember there was like Arch Enemy, and that was kind of it,
Yeah.
and everyone was like, whoa, this is so amazing that a woman is doing death growls, what the hell, and it was kind of like it's just so weird that it was just so, such a small kind of percentage. But I think we've still got a really long way to go, like a terribly long way to go. I am still quite annoyed frequently at how little is represented, in the music industry, and especially in metal. I remember seeing a poster for like all the greatest like prog musicians, and there wasn't a single female on it, and it just not even included, not even thought about. And I think like it's very difficult to just go in as a female and just be listened to, rather than, oh, they're female and I'm listening to your music. It's sort of the
Right.
thing that you get led with. And we had this conversation with our label, who are absolutely fantastic and represented us really, really well. But we had this conversation. They said, how do you want to be represented? Like what's important to you guys, so that when we're writing about you and we're telling people about you, that we get it right. And we said the most important thing for us is we are not a chick band.
Yeah.
Like people have said to me like, oh, you're a chick band. I'm like, what does that, first of all, we're not, and second of all, just can we just please leave the gender out of the conversation? And they were really great. They were like, we've got it straight away, and not a single time have they really led that as a thing. We're musicians, and that's it. We just want to be seen as musicians. And I think until you can just go into a situation and just be seen as a musician, we're still sort of waiting to just be represented just with our music first, and our gender like not as part of it. But having said that, it is, because it is so important to lift up females. I do think that we still need a space for like the female fronted metal scene, and we still need a space to lift up females. So I think yeah.
Good to hear. I'm glad that you feel a bit positive about it. But yeah, you're definitely not a chick band. That's not a good thing to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Can you hold on for just 1 second? Someone's just come to my door and I just need to let them in. 1 second. I'll be thanks. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I do have one more really quick question. I always
Of course.
I always ask my guests, can you surf?
Do you know what? I fucking can surf. I did it once in Sri Lanka, and honestly, I thought I'd be rubbish at it. And then my massive, big size 9 flat feet got up on that surfboard, and it was like, oh, I can actually do this. So I was like surfing all the way to it was brilliant. It was one of the best experiences of my life, and I've never done it since, but I would absolutely love to.
Oh,
again.
That's not an answer I was expecting, although you're
I know, right?
but you're at Brighton, but size 9, wow, that's huge. You must have to get some really big stilettos or boots for stage.
No, the boots are ridiculous. They're huge. Yeah, it's I've got big banana clown feet, but they work for surfing, so it's all good.
Well, I'm good with that, because I surf as much as I can. I've always have. It's one of my favorite things besides being a journalist. I love it.
Oh, amazing. Well, hopefully I'll see you in Australia for a surfing session next time. That'd be great.
Definitely.